Okay, the big packing is starting. Okay, Maddie, so what's happening here is I'm just going to run through reassembly on the mill and the wiring for you. We both know you're a smart fella, but sometimes just having a reference can help. Okay, so the size of the box makes it impossible to fit this in with the stepper on. So I've undone the stepper, removed the 4 screws over there, picked it up and taken off the 2, just not taken off, just loosened the 2 bolts on the lug that holds it onto the screw. Okay, I haven't unwired anything or undone any limit switches or anything. What I've done with the stepper is I've taken the 4 screws from there and the Allen key that fits those 4 screws and the Allen key that fits the 2 lugs. I've wrapped them all into a piece of plastic bag, taped it around the stepper, then I've rolled the stepper in bubble wrap, okay, and I've got a bit of polystyrene underneath it. I've laid it down on top of the X column over there, and I've let the head just slide back down onto it. Alright, I've run a tie down around all of that to hold it down so there's no bouncing or damage happens in the mill moving. Alright, so when you come to assemble, quite easy. You're going to clip that. Alright, you're going to pull this up and then put a support under it, something between the table and the Z branch over there. Okay, what you want to do is you want to pick it up probably at least 2 inches or so, just to give yourself enough room to work with inside there. Once you've got that up and supported, I can't emphasize enough, support that, because if you don't support it and it falls down and this slides and smacks the front of that, you're going to break bearings in there. Alright, so pick this up, put a block or something under it to support it, and then the stepper, you can just unwrap all the plastic straight off the stepper. Be careful that you don't lose the little screws and everything that's inside a separate plastic bag. The stepper is going to slide straight on top of the screw. There's 2 little hex bolts that you have to tighten with the small hex key. Then the whole lot's going to just slide down, hanging off its own weight on there, and you're going to put those 4 bolts in. Alright, that's that. Mill assembled, finished, all done. Wiring up, I've done everything I can to make sure that you're not going to have problems, but there are 2 things you have to look at. Number 1, I don't have enough American cables, American jacks. I had one lying here, which is the power that goes, that's the controller. No, the power from the controller, that grey plug has got an American jack on the end. The one from the spindle controller does not. It has an Aussie jack on the end, so you're going to have to just you're going to have to clip that off and put a US jack on the front of that. Okay, the other place that you might have to look at is the power supply for the relay. That's the relay that turns the spindle on and off with an MO3 or an M30 command. Alright, it has a 24 volt 0.3 amp. Okay, so this power supply is switching, but the problem is its jack is for Australia. The original 24 volt that Jack sent me, I've thrown away probably years ago. I had to buy one of these in Australia to fit our plugs. Alright, so these are the 2 things you might want to get yourself in the meanwhile. Just another American jack for that, and either an Aussie to American converter for this, or otherwise just a 24 volt 0.3 amp power supply. Alright, that's DC. The jack on it is oh shit, I would say that's about probably 4 mil, something like that. You can get those little ones with the converter things. Alright, might be easier just to get the converter, the Aussie to American converter. Alright, so let's go through wiring. From the mill to the controller, dead easy. You couldn't want it any easier than this. Alright, sorry, I'm getting old, you can't bend over as much when you get old, mate. I've labeled, whenever I do a mill install, I always label the cabling. You can't go wrong over here. Y goes to Y, X goes to X, A and Z. They're quite clearly labelled on the back of the controller too. Alright, this is your limit switches. It's all wired and cable. I cable tie everything into a harness to keep it neat. So that goes into over there. Screw it down. Do yourself a favour. Get yourself a can of compressed oxygen. Blow this out. Blow that out before you screw them back in. I find sometimes just dirt, dust, oil and shit can cause problems for you. Alright. The last thing that coming from the harness is the NSK controller itself. It comes around and screws into there. Okay, it can only go one place. You can't go wrong with that. Right, then that's the mill. wired into the controllers. So there's one last thing to do with all of this. These older controllers didn't have the relay built into them, so the relay is external. This relay works off of some inputs that work on MO3 and M30. It speaks to Mac via this cable that's wired directly onto the breakout board inside there. It speaks to the spindle controller via this data cable, which goes into the front there. Okay, so that'll be your spindle on, spindle off, so you can leave code running through the night and it'll turn your spindle off when the job's done. If you can't find that 24-volt thing by the time the mill arrives with you, the mill runs perfectly fine even without this, but you're going to have to revert it back to manual control. Setting that to manual control, give me a shout on the forum if you do need to use it in manual control, and I'll explain to you how to turn it on and off. Back to manual. It's okay, I'll just show you now. Quick little button there. Okay, so if you want to use it under manual control, clip, which is basically turn spindle on off and change your RPM there, just hit the little manual button there. If you want the computer to run it, hit auto. Okay. Not really complicated. So the last things that are going to come over to you, there's the box with all the NSK's bits and bobs. The only reason I've got that is because I recently got a new NSK, so that's all the bits and bobs from the new NSK. Basically the airline cables and that, in case you want to run air on it. Inside there, all your fixtures, tail, stock and all that kind of garbage. And the last thing that has to come into the system is still copying up all my files. Okay, that's been going forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, and it looks like it'll still be going forever. So the computer will pack in there for you as well. Matey, I think that's just about it. I should be finished packing this up as soon as that data transfer completes on that computer. Cheers, Chris out.